Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are new here, my name is Heather Lewis and today we are going to be doing something a little bit smaller than the typical dresser flip. Today we are going to be making over this old entryway table. It is in pretty good condition, but the color is just not desirable anymore and I want to modernize it with a new color. Overall, this should be a pretty quick flip and it should have some good profits. To my surprise, every single time I've done an entryway table, it's sold very fast. I usually list it for around $250 and I only got this piece for like $13. So that's a pretty high profit margin, I would say. Now that you know a little bit more about the piece, let's go ahead and get started. Alright, first things first is taking off the hardware. This is going to be super quick and easy because there's only 2 pieces of hardware. I'm also going to go ahead and pull it out while I'm at it because it'll just be easier for the rest of the makeover. Now I'm just going to set this hardware aside because there is a possibility that I might actually use it. Typically I wouldn't, but with the legs on this piece, I don't think a really modern hardware would go well with it. So I think maybe just sprucing these up would be a better option. Alright, so the next thing is sanding, and this piece does have some imperfections on the top. And it could definitely use a good scuff sanding to just make sure it's all smooth so that it's ready for paint. So I am going to be using my DeWalt palm sander. I already got it plugged in. Look at that hair. All right, so we already got it plugged in, and also I am going to be using a respirator. There's very little to sand here, but I'd rather be safe than sorry, so I'm gonna go ahead and put this on. I do have a 300 grit on here. I'm just gonna do a really soft grit because I feel like it doesn't need too much, so just a scuff sand and it'll be good. Now that that's been done, I'm going to start cleaning with Dawn dish soap and warm water. I've got it in my white bucket here. There are so many spots on this piece that have collected dust, not only from the sander, but just regular dust that accumulates in your home over time, especially around the top of the legs. So I really want to make sure to go ahead and get all this cleaned super well so that we can move on to the next step. Another thing to make sure that you're always doing is also cleaning up where the drawers lay, because a lot of time that's where most of the dust can collect. Before I've cleaned, it's super dusty, and after I've cleaned, it's all nice and clean. Clearly there's a big difference. All right, so I am gonna be using the same color that I used in the last video, which is this Sherwin-Williams white color. I decided I am going to be keeping the original hardware for this piece, but I do want to change the color, and I think white will go very well with the color I want to change it to. Based off the last video, I had to do quite a few coats on the dresser to reach full coverage with this paint, so I'm going to go ahead and get started because I'm thinking I'm probably going to need quite a few on this piece as well. So this is just a reminder for you guys, but this is why we always stir our paint. Also, one thing that I haven't used for a while are these painting triangles, but I decided I'm going to use it for this piece because I am getting so much hair on the bottom of these legs and I can't keep picking it out. I think lifting it off the ground will help, especially since I just recently sweeped, so I don't even know where it's coming from. So it's the next day and we've got 2 coats on this piece so far. I'm assuming it's gonna need 4 coats, so we're halfway there. The coverage is there, but it's not 100% yet, so we gotta keep going. Alright, so as expected, after 4 coats, this piece does have full coverage and it's looking perfect. So we are going to get started on top coating. I am going to use the same method and top coat that I used in the last video, which is this Minwax polyacrylic. I actually, to my surprise, really do like the clear satin. I've always used the matte, but for some reason I'm kind of actually liking the finish that the satin gives. So that's really interesting because I always thought that I wouldn't like it, so I always stuck with the flat or the matte, but I do kind of like it. So I'm gonna take this polyacrylic, pour it into the same exact container that I used since it's the same paint and the same finish, and then after I pour this into the container as I did last time, I'm then going to mix some of the paint that I have on my brush into this, and it'll make for a really good finish. Okay, so now that the top coat is on and drying, there's one final thing that I want to do before this makeover is complete, and that is sprucing up the existing hardware. Now in the beginning, I didn't know if I was going to be keeping this hardware or not, but I just think that this hardware does go best with the style and how it's shaped with the legs. So I think keeping the hardware, just changing it up a little bit, will work out really well for this piece. I do a lot of preaching of how changing out the hardware can be one of the most efficient ways to add value and maximize on profits when you're flipping furniture. Sometimes you have a style of furniture that you can't 100% make modern, I guess you could say. Like, these legs are not modern, and I'm not gonna chop them off and put brand new ones on because that kind of defeats the purpose of flipping this piece. Instead of changing the hardware on this, I am just going to take the hardware that we've already got and change it up. One of the easiest ways to do that is just by spray painting them. Now it doesn't look it because they're old, but I did go ahead and wash these hardware pieces so that they are clean and ready to get paint on them. I just like to place them in an old cardboard box, and then I go ahead, shake the can, and spray it on. Sometimes it's best to do thin layers and multiple coats rather than just globbing it all on one coat. However, these are actually getting coated pretty well, so I really don't have to worry about that this time around.
Try to make it new. You can't fight it when it feels so true. You drive me crazy like no one else. The final moment before I lose myself. And it's no use working 9 to 5 if you want more than to stay alive. So come on over, we can make it through.